What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Mindset podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Today, I'm joined by Eddie Baracco. I'll just give you a brief background on who Eddie is. Eddie is a striking coach at Extreme Couture MMA. He has been involved in martial arts since the age of only 7 years old. He has competed in Muay Thai, MMA, boxing, both at an amateur and professional level. Training internationally in Thailand, as well as under some of the best coaches in the world. Eddie has gained the knowledge and skills to be one of the best coaches out there. He is the coach of some incredible fighters such as Joseph Benavidez, Casey O'Neill, Cody Stamann, and more. What an honor it is to have you on the podcast today, Eddie.
Hey, thanks. Honor's all mine. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think a great place to start, Eddie, would be to take it all the way back. Just talk to me about your upbringing. Like, what did that whole process look like?
I came from a very traditional Italian family. We had the big holidays and family get-togethers. Great childhood, great family, and I was involved in sports at an early age, both martial arts and traditional sports over here, baseball and soccer, football, things like that. After college, I was about 21, and that's when I started doing it. I was able, what I loved even after. I feel very blessed every day, to get to be involved in this sport with all these incredible athletes.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. And I did mention that you started at such a young age. Was martial arts like a big thing, back then, or was it
Um,
not as popular as it is?
no, it definitely was not. It was the traditional martial arts. You got involved in Taekwondo or karate, things like that. I was involved in Taekwondo. My uncle, Steve Kissel, I owe a lot to getting me involved in the sport, even just on an inspirational level.
Hmm.
And that was something that, was always there, but it was secondary to playing baseball or playing soccer, playing football, those kind of things.
Hmm.
And then as an adult is when I started doing the more functional fighting sports of boxing and Muay Thai and things like that, which evolved into being involved in one of the first true mixed martial arts gyms here in Las Vegas before they all existed, which essentially brought in coaches from other gyms into one roof. All the practices were still separated, but it was under one roof at that time.
Hmm.
And then that evolved into what we have today, whereas, everything is in sync and together, and the coaches are communicating with each other, for all the athletes, and everything is more one.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Yeah. Did you know that you wanted to get into coaching? Because I know obviously you fought yourself, right? Did you know that coaching was the path that you wanted to lead down?
no, definitely not. Definitely not. My body took a toll pretty early on. 300 discs in my neck and two in my back, an ACL and both meniscus, and I was only like 26, 27 at the time, and I was just kind of scratching my head thinking, what's the longevity factor here? Nobody even knew what Muay Thai was back then.
Mhm.
You weren't making any money. So for me, it was more looking down the road of being an active father to my children when I had them, and just having that foresight to want to continue to be healthy and continue to be in the sport.
Mhm.
So in my mind, the way to do that was to shift gears and start coaching early on, essentially to get a head start, if you will, at that. Because, there's no guarantee. Maybe you can't fight. Maybe you can't coach. Maybe you can fight and you can't coach. Maybe you can't fight, but you can coach. And you'd have no idea until you do it. So in my mind, I was like, let me get a head start on this. And I was in a good opportunity spot, so to speak, as far as the gyms I was in, the city I was in, fight capital, some people call Vegas. And it allowed me to be able to develop myself under the tutelage of all the phenomenal coaches that I had. And then it exposed me to some phenomenal fighters that I was able to coach early on in my career, arguably maybe even too soon, for where I was in my coaching career. And, here I am coaching guys at the highest level, even back then, WEC days. So I'm very grateful to be able to continue to do what I do and was able to be successful at it. And I owe a lot to, my upbringing, not just my family, but all the coaches that I've had throughout my career and mentors and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, of course, that the fighters that you work with, they're grateful to have you as well. You know, you are one of the best coaches out there. I really believe that, and you know, it just shows as well. The fighters that you know you've coached have made it to the top levels, of course. I spoke to Eddie Cha the other day, and he mentioned something about, because obviously he does the striking aspect in his gym,
Yep.
but he doesn't call himself a striking coach. He calls himself an MMA coach. Is that the approach that you take as well when you coach your athletes, or are you just the striking coach?
Yeah, no, it's definitely evolved to the point where, you know, we are MMA coaches. I may specialize or focus on the striking aspect of MMA,
Hmm.
but it has to be blended together. You know, every pad session I'm doing, guys are mixing in their takedowns, whether they're finishing all the way out or not. You know, I'm focusing on their head position, their body position, you know, all the ins and outs of MMA. So yeah, I mean, you can't really just be a striking coach anymore. You've had to evolve yourself and continuously learn. And that's one thing that, you know, I love over here at Extreme Couture. We are constantly lifting each other up as coaches, constantly helping each other learn and grow and pushing those limits. And, you know, coaches like Eddie Cha is one of the best in the sport as well. Someone who I respect a great deal, who's found a lot of success. And I believe a lot of that has to do with the mindset.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I know that the staff in Extreme Couture is incredible, right? You work along the side of Eric Nixick as well, who's
Mm-hmm.
incredible himself.
Yes.
What do you think makes a coach, be at the level that you guys are at? Like, what are the keys to being a great coach, would you say?
Well, I mean, obviously, people focus on the technical aspect and the physical ability of what you're doing with the fighter, right? But the main thing, like the difference between a coach and an instructor, is you care. You are signing up to care. You don't sign off when the practice is over and then everybody goes about their day. You know, you are involved in their lives. You're making sure what they're doing outside the gym um, is correct and in line with the goals that they have set for themselves.
Hmm.
You're also playing the mental coach side of things. You know, whether it be some coaches are good at, you know, that the father figure role, some coaches are good at, you know, the friend or brother role. But no matter what, the extent of involvement extends far beyond just the gym, you know, and it has to be that way, because if not, then you're just an instructor.
Hmm.
You know, a coach is someone who is both an instructor, a mentor, a model example, and you truly care and have a vested interest in caring and making sure that they are achieving their goals. And that's what I want. Like, obviously, there's always a selfish aspect to them succeeding because it's a reflection on what you're doing as a coach. But at the end of the day, what I want more than anything is for all of the people that I coach to achieve their goals, not just in this sport, but in life in general. You know, I want to see them succeed past this sport, to be set up for life, be good fathers or mothers. And a lot of that has to do with the example that you set as a coach as well, as how you behave, how you act, how you carry yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I know that, when it comes to coaching, as well as the fighters themselves, when the highs are high, they're very high, and then when the lows are low, they're extremely low.
Yeah.
Like examples where you've cornered fighters, Joseph Benavidez, and when he loses, it must be incredible. Like it must be like very difficult, right, to be around that as a coach, because obviously you've been there for him the whole time, and then a big fight and then he loses, and it was very
Yeah.
disappointing to see that, because I know that he's got the potential to definitely be a champion, right? So the next question I want to ask: what is it like working with Joseph Benavidez? Because he seems like such an incredible person. What's he like? Because you know him, probably one of the best.
Joseph, yeah, Joseph is easily not only one of the best fighters I've ever known,
Mm.
ever worked with, ever seen. just a legend and pioneer in the sport, one of the best to ever do it. But he is an incredible human being, very generous, just a great, great person. Truly looks out for the people around him, both he and his wife. Just honestly, some of the most incredible humans that I know in this sport and outside the sport. So, yeah, I mean, but, you know, when, in those moments of the lowest lows as a coach, that's when your job starts. That's when you are to be there, you know. That's when it matters the most, because, you know, it's not just a disappointment on the fighter's end to themselves when they lose, but, you know, some of them have this, you know, in their mind that they've let down other people. And in reality, it's not how it is. And all you could do is just, you know, try to remind them of all the good things and the positive aspects. And it's difficult, you know, every fighter's different. So the way to respond is different for everybody. But yeah, coaching Joe has truly been a blessing and an honor, and I'm truly grateful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible. And you know, you mentioned earlier that obviously the goal of the fighters are to win, right? To get the championships, you know, to get the belts. But what are your goals, Eddie? Like, have you set yourself any like long-term or short-term goals at all?
You know, honestly, my goals, short term and long term, are their goals. By them achieving their goals, I'm achieving my goals. Yeah. And I don't focus so much on the goal itself. I just enjoy the journey and the process. I love the day to day, the getting into the gym and interacting with everybody, and the grind, the work. You know, that's what I love so much. And I feel like if you enjoy the day to day and you enjoy the process, then, you know, when the goals happen, it's phenomenal. But if they don't, you know, it's not necessarily such a huge setback in people's minds or in my mind, because we're just doing what we love anyway, you know, and we just keep pushing on. So
yeah. No, of course, amazing, yeah. And I saw the other day that, you know, you were doing pad work with Francis Ngannou. What was it like doing pad work with someone like that?
Well, I had to hire somebody to continuously pick my arms up as they flew out of the cage after every hit. But no, I mean, Francis is a pleasure to have around the gym. He's truly great energy source. You know, he has an amazing perspective in life from where he comes from, and I think that just in that alone, without him even saying anything, just his presence, you know, people feel that and they acknowledge that, and it inspires others to work hard. So, you know, we love having him in the gym. Anytime I can help Eric out, which is what I was doing the other day, and help the guys that, you know, that's the thing. It's like some guys, to some athletes, I'm a head coach, and to others, I'm a secondary or tertiary coach. And all the coaches in this gym fulfill those same roles, and we all work together. There is no, this is my guy and that's your guy, and don't work with him because he's mine. That has been eliminated from Extreme Couture for as long as I can remember. And I feel like that's why we have found so much success in these years to come. And I feel like that's why we'll continue to grow the gym, because it's the athlete first. And that's the bottom line. You know, if everybody has the athlete first in mind, they will succeed, we will succeed, and everybody will work together well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course. Amazing. Yeah. Is there anything that you've learned throughout the years of coaching that, you know, you would, you know, if someone, let's say, for example, if someone wants to get into coaching themselves, is there any advice that you would give, like a new person that wants to start coaching MMA?
I mean, I would for sure say get involved in the sport on a level to where you're doing it yourself. You know, it's hard to coach something that you haven't done. On top of that, you know, be in the gym. You have to live it and breathe it, eat it, sleep it. And I said it before on podcasts, but to be successful in not just this sport, but any sport where the percentage of individuals that make it to the top are so few, it has to be your passion. You have to love it. So if that's not first and foremost, then it's going to be much easier to just do something else and make a career out of something else, because there's going to be so much sacrifice involved, not just physically, mentally, and emotionally, but financially as well, before you even get to a place where you're, you know, feeling good and secure and, you know, able to make a living. The biggest thing you could do is just get involved, just be in the gym, start training, start being around people who you look up to, who are successful, who are good people. And I feel like just by doing that and having those examples and role models and gaining that experience over the years, things kind of take care of themselves. You know, I'm a firm believer in things happen for us, not to us. So if you just get involved, and as things evolve, whatever's happening is supposed to happen, and it will, it's supposed to.
Yeah, no, for sure. And oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. I want to ask as well, you know, when you're going through a tough situation, like let's say, for example, you know, the fighters have lost, or, you know, you're just going through a tough situation yourself as a coach. How do you deal with tough situations? Like how do you get your mindset into the right places in dark times?
Probably a multi-part answer there. You know, for me, I do things personally, whether that be, you know, disappear and go to the river and camp overnight and just be with my own thoughts. A lot of things we do is we lean on each other. I lean on Eric Nixick or Casey Halstead, the other coaches I work with, and I ask them for advice. You know, we analyze what we're doing. And most importantly, I feel, is taking ownership and accountability for yourself and what you're doing and analyzing those things. You know, I look at what I did, what I could have done different, what I will do different in the future. I get the input and feedback of the athletes that I coach, because their opinions are very important. You know, I want to know what they think at all times. And that will allow us to continue to grow and improve together. You know, I always want to make sure I'm always learning and studying. But, you know, also my faith in God to push through. You know, faith to me is, you know, believing in what you can't see and what you can't hear and what you can't feel, and just knowing that everything's going to work out and it's going to be fine. And I owe that to my family, you know, for giving me that. So for me, it's multi-part. I use all those things. Sometimes I might just need to get in here and bang on a heavy bag myself, you know, just to clear my mind, or start doing some training myself to allow me to remember things I forgot, just combos go, or study videos of people I love to watch, you know. So it's not just one thing, it's all those things. And I definitely use all those tools to allow me to not just pull myself maybe out of a dark place, but figure out where I'm going from there and how I'm going to approach the future, you know. And a lot of it has to do with the people you surround yourself with.
100%. Yeah. No, that's amazing. Just a few more questions, Eddie. So, you know, when you were a fighter and you were winning, and now you being a coach and cornering, you know, fighters and them winning, which one feels better for you? Because I hear Dean Thomas ask this question to the coaches on Dean's Diary, so I got to ask you because you're a coach.
That's the easy answer. Feels much better when they win. Yeah.
Amazing.
Much better. It's also much more nerve-wracking, you know, when they get in there as opposed to when I get in there. You know, you get in there, it's like, well, it's on you. You have the control. But, you know, when they fight, you're relinquishing that control, you know, and you just hope that the training kicks in, the call outs, you know, and everything that they're able to put together. You know, it's a lot of the times, you know, at the end of the day, one fighter wins, one fighter loses. And that loss is definitely not a reflection of all the effort and work put into that camp. You know, so everybody sees the results of the fight, but nobody sees the months and months of hard work or the game planning. And, you know, you'll get messages like, well, why didn't this guy put his hand up? And it's like, well, yeah, we worked on that. Or, you know what I mean? And so they only see the fight. But at the end of the day, so much goes into it that, you know, the result or the outcome doesn't necessarily reflect all the work, you know, put in. So, you know, it's definitely a harder road as a coach, in my opinion, but that makes it much more gratifying and satisfying when they win, you know, as opposed to when I fought and I won.
Yeah, of course. It's like that, you know, like you said, that the effort they put in, everyone just sees the fight, right? It's like that picture of the iceberg, and then it's just like a tiny iceberg, but then underneath the water is just like a huge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got to ask you as well, Eddie. If you could go back in time, um, is there anything that you would tell yourself to change, or is there nothing that you would tell yourself if you could go back in time?
Oh yeah. I mean, if anybody answered no to that, I'd call them a liar. But yeah, I mean, I would tell myself to focus. Don't be so concerned with all the exterior stuff that goes on in life. The going out or the partying or the girls or whatever it may be for somebody. We all have our own vices and things that, keep us from truly, truly buckling down and focusing. The window of opportunity is so small in any sport that I would have gone back and told myself that, you need to focus. You need to exclude everything and anything and just buckle down on not just when I fought in my career, but as well as maybe early on as a coach. And I continue to have to remind myself things like this. As we all do, we have to constantly revisit those things and make sure that, we're staying on top of that stuff. But if I could tell myself or anybody for that matter, no matter what it is you're doing, it's when you're in the process of getting to where you want to go, you need to buckle down and you need to focus, because all the sleepless nights of working hard are going to pay off. But all the sleepless nights of staying out late and dicking around are going to get you into a place in life to where you're not going to be, and it's not going to reflect the goals that you are looking to get,
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. Just last question now, Eddie. I know you're a busy person, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I got to speak to you about Casey O'Neill, because I know she's doing incredible. It's amazing to watch her. She's undefeated at the moment. What do you think is next for her? Like, what does her future look like, would you say?
Her future is very bright. She truly does everything you're supposed to do in the gym and out of the gym. And that's a rare thing to find in somebody as young as her. She's 23 years old, and she has the work ethic, the mindset of somebody much more advanced in their career. Her father, who got her involved in that, I'm sure has a lot to do with that, and was able to lay down a foundation that's provided an incredible future for her. But at the end of the day, Casey O'Neill is responsible for doing that on a day-to-day basis, and she does. There's no doubt in my mind she continues to do what she's doing. She will be a world champion. And it's only a matter of time, of things lining up for her. But, absolutely, the future is bright for her. She is an absolute workhorse. We have to constantly tell her all the time to rest or take a day off constantly. And that is an understatement. I would much have that. All the fighters, fighter that I coach, where I'm like, hey, man, you're not in practice, or hey, you're not doing what they all need to be told to back off. They all have to be told to take a rest once in a while. It shows and reflects in the level that they compete at, and how they look when they go in and compete. So, I'm very hopeful and optimistic for Casey's future. And right now she's doing everything that she's supposed to be doing to achieve those goals that she wants.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Eddie. Honestly, I really appreciate, everything you've done, everything you are doing. You're at the top of the top. You're providing value for the fighters, which is amazing. And I know that the future for yourself is bright as well, with all these fighters coming up. And I'm excited to see you corner the fighters in future fights as well. Thank you so much, Eddie. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you for those words, and also for the opportunity to come on this podcast, telling the stories, not just to the coaches and the fighters. We all truly keep this sport and community alive and going the way it is. So thank you too.